Now, I'll be using this video from Tamriel Tidbits. She is an Elder Scrolls Online content creator, but also does a lot of lore talks, because again, Elder Scrolls Online brings a lot of things to lore. Now, you're probably wondering, what the fuck does this have to do with my thoughts on the big bad of Elder Scrolls 6? Now, just remember, this is just an idea, okay? Could mean absolutely feck all. Again, we've all had 13 years at this point to think about what's going to be the next big bad of the Elder Scrolls 6. How is Bethesda going to, well, how are they going to make a story more compelling than the dragons? Well, anything could do better than what Eldermead was, but we're going to go into that, and I believe, quite simply, that the next menace could very well be the new Daedric Prince of the Elder Scrolls Online, or her power, or a different version of her. Now, what do I mean, a different version of her, and who the hell is she? Well, her name is Athilia. She's a new Daedric Prince created by ZeniMax Online's. She's a Daedric Prince of Fate and Unseen Paths. Now, that sounds familiar, right? The Daedric Prince of Fate. Is that not Humurus Mora? Well, yes. But there's also a story in this chapter of kind of how he becomes the Daedric Prince of Fate. Now, a spoiler warning for anyone that doesn't play this or hasn't played this yet. Probably not to watch it, but if you don't really care about Elder Scrolls Online is, pretty much the servant of Athilia breaks her free. She's a bit insane. She recuperates her power, eventually goes insane again, realizes that she goes insane, but then basically the Daedric Prince agrees to be locked away because she knows her power is too dangerous, and she gives her power to Mora, not all of it, because but I think he shields it somehow. But she's able. He opens up a path to her. They open up a path to where she goes into a realm where her power can't follow her, so her magic doesn't exist. Where there's a place where she doesn't exist, or a place where her power can't follow her. And boom, she disappears. But her power still remains. Mora has taken a lot of her power and taken on the position of Fate. He's now become the Daedric Prince of Knowledge and Fate. But her power of the many paths still remains. Now, what is the many paths? Well, the many paths is pretty much the multiverse of the Elder Scrolls. It's different versions of the Elder Scrolls, and in this DLC, you get to see that firsthand. You're able to use her power and go back in time to when she surrendered in this different version. In the current Elder Scrolls Online version, she fought Humurus Mora and lost. But you get to go into a version where she also surrenders to Humurus Mora. And you get to go into this like alien ruin, but it's not an alien ruin. It's completely and utterly still alive. It's during the time of the aliens, probably before they enslaved the Needs. It was pristine, it was beautiful. It was like the first time seeing an alien ruin, which was completely intact and just unburdened by time. And you get to meet a version of her where she surrenders to Mora. You get to meet another version of her where she's defeated on her knees, and you get to meet another version where Mora lost, and she's gotten angry and she's pulling reality apart. So you get to see different versions of her in different paths. Now, what I believe this is going to be, this power or alternate versions of, first of all, alternate versions of her. I think she's the most dangerous. It boggles my mind that that I think Bethesda would let these guys do this just for Elder Scrolls Online. And the reason I'm thinking that she's going to be the next powerful thing in the next Elder Scrolls game is because you don't let a Daedric Prince like this just disappear or jump into the lore without anything happening in the background, because I dare say, she is the most powerful Daedric Prince that they've got. She's like Madam Web. She can communicate and use power from alternate versions of herself. So the other paths, she can tap into their power and use them. I don't know how she got defeated, but she's able to take their power and use it as her own. Like, that right there is a Daedric Prince that can communicate with other versions of her. That is fucking incredible. Now, in this video, that is her right there. She was there. I don't know how the hell you defeat someone that can go into, like, if she's in desperate need for survival, would she not flee into a different alternate reality? Like, would that not be the thing? I don't know. But I don't think Bethesda's going to let these guys create a brand new Daedric Prince of such magnitude, such power, that messing around in the future, especially when her story is so open-ended. I mean, she goes into a path where her power can't follow her, but her power sticks around in that path. Maybe Himura's Mora basically captures it. He can't use it, but he locks it away somewhere so no one can use it. Because I'm pretty sure this entire chapter, or the ones beforehand, like Necrom, was about stopping her from getting out because the power was way too dangerous. It was way too dangerous. So he locked her away with it. But I think now that she's gone, I think he's able to lock it away safely without it being interfered. And maybe in the Elder Scrolls 6 that one of his priestesses, one of his high-ranking Himura's Mora worshippers, breaks his power free and takes it for themselves and wants to become their very own Daedric Prince. And this is the problem, because the Philia that gave it up is gone. It could be another version that comes through, and that could even be the big hero like Parthenax, a different version of the Philia that controlled her power from a different path that helps you out. She can't use all of her power because it's not her reality, her path, but she can help you control it or help you defeat the person that's got it. So I think that's why, I don't know, man, it's just so much boggling in my head that I can't really script it or run it in a straight line, because it's just, I've got like 1,000 things going on in my head right now trying to structure this entire video. So I'll get back to you in a quick second when I restraddle my brain. So I mentioned that, I don't know why, I think power is going to be in the next Elder Scrolls game because Bethesda allows, ZeniMax to create this brand new Daedric Prince and leaves the story so open-ended with the power. But secondly, the second reason I believe this power is, I keep saying I believe, is simply because of Bethesda's new feature in their latest game. Now, Bethesda loves to take features from previous games and add them into new ones. For a fine example, Hearthfire. Hearthfire became the settlement system, and now it's also in Starfield as an outpost system. And now they've got space flying, which they'll no doubt put into a sailing mechanic in the next Elder Scrolls game. And then they've got the rover 8s or 9s now, which they're probably going to use as a carriage system, or definitely a war buggy system in the next Fallout game. But also, then latest feature in Starfield is New Game Plus. It's not really liked, because, some players... New Game Plus system is basically opening up the multiverse, resetting time into where you started, but as your one character. Because Bethesda games are very big on replayability, right? That's the entire thing about Bethesda games, is replayability. Play this save, you've done this, alright, start up a new save, do something different. Continue doing that until you run out of ideas. But now with New Game Plus, you can reset where the game starts and start all over again while being your own character, and basically doing it all over again while you remain powerful, while you remain your character. Now, I believe people didn't really like this because... I'm going to stop saying I believe. Fuck me, dead. People really didn't like this because, again, a lot of people, they've played the share of the game. They didn't do like... There's people that play Bethesda games that don't play the main quest straight up. Like, they just spend like hundreds of hours building ships, building settlements, and then all of a sudden at the end of the story, you're told that if you finish the story, if you go into this New Game Plus, you lose everything that you've done, you spent hours on doing. Now, I'm not that player, I just run through the main quest. I didn't worry about building ships, I just wanted to get through the story, because I'm a big story dude. Yeah, I did exactly that, I went through it. But if you like, basically just told a player out of the blue who had spent 20 hours building ships, 40 hours building settlements, oh, by the way, you can't finish the game, and because if you do that, you lose all your items, all your settlements, all your ships. You lose everything. Wasn't a big liked feature, obviously, but this time they could do it better, to where, say you've defeated this big bad and just taken the power of Ophelia and you've conquered it and you've become the new Daedric Prince of many paths. You're able to then open up the infinite replayability of the Elder Scrolls games. You're able to jump in and replay your character, but also go back to your previous path. I mean, that would be the beautiful thing about it, is, the thing that people hated the most about the New Game Plus system is losing all your gear, where you're able to save or keep the data of the path you started in, but go into different ones. Play just like certain things we had in Starfield, where you go into the alternate path and you're able to meet you before you know who you are. But weird things like, you try to explain who you are to you, and they freak the fuck out going, what the fuck is this? Why is me looking at me and telling me this? And they might think you're insane or some sort of danger, and they try to kill you, and you kill them by mistake because they tried to kill you, and now you have to take their role. If you're a good character, you want to save the world, but if you've got a god complex, you're like, nah, fuck this, I'm out of here, and the world crumbles. You can never go back to it, because the Elder Scroll wrote, that character was destined to save the world. But it didn't foresee, because it couldn't foresee, you from a different path coming in there and killing that character. So you've completely fucked with the Elder Scrolls that have written this fate, this timeline. The world's crumbled because you couldn't give two shits about saving it. Where, if you're a good character, you jump in their shoes and then take the position again. You can kind of shortcut things here and there because you know what's going to happen. You can play the role that, alright, I'll just go along with it and kind of, maybe chuck some hints in there, things that I know what's going to happen. Saves all the boring run-around quest, and save the world, as you. Or you can go into a different world where you aren't you. The path has been written, the exact same path, but to a different person. Like, you weren't born, it was... you say, for example, you are the son of the daughter of a fisherman. That was written for you. But your character's hero complex, the Doom-Driven, could have been written for some noble kid's son or daughter in a different city. They take the exact same path, but they are not you. So you're able to help out there, help them out, explain who you are, or kill them and take their position. Things like that. We come across different paths where you failed. So you can go into a path where reality's been destroyed, or the priest won and killed Amora. I don't think he really killed Edgic Prince, trapped him away and took their power and became an absolute a mad god or whatever the hell, and just became so destructive that the world crumbled and destroyed, and it's just like it's unlivable. And those that unfortunately still alive there are enslaved. Different paths to where you could see what happened in other Elder Scrolls games. Now, I really want to get to this point because it's super important, the whole canonization. For the last 13 years, people have been going, well, who are they going to pick to win the Civil War in the next Elder Scrolls game? This could completely and utterly unbreak that, and in a good way. As in, you choose your own path for those previous games. Now, there's something I really loved, and what you're watching right now is actually going into the past, into a different alternate world, and you're seeing a different affiliate. This one actually surrenders, and you can see how beautiful the Ayleid ruins are before they become ruins, when they're Ayleid cities. Now, apart from all that, what I was talking about was uncanonizing events, because the last thing you want as the player is to really enjoy, say you're a loyal legionary, or you're a loyal rebel. The last thing you really want is to have this story of yours mean fuck all in the next game. You fought for the Stormcloaks, you believed in their cause, you spent years arguing online on Reddit being an absolute loser who should win. And then you get in there and you find out that your side didn't win. That makes you angry because your story now means fuck all. So there could be a thing where you get to choose your path in your game. So it uncanonizes everything, but also canonizes everything in a certain sense. So, by an example, if you've ever played Dragon Age Inquisition, it asks a lot of questions when you start the game up, and it kind of asks you the choices that you made in the previous games. You didn't play those games, you could just skip it, and it'll give you the default of what BioWare's story for that was. But you could pick things. One of my favourites was Liliana. Now, Liliana was a Dragon Age Origins companion. She was a redhead priestess that could sing very beautifully. She had the voice of a god. And she believed this dragon that you get to meet was actually the reincarnation of her god, when I think she was the reincarnation of her god. And if you choose to kill it and attack it, she'll attack you and you got to kill her. I think you got to kill her. I never really picked that because I didn't want to fight the dragon because I couldn't be fucked. And you got to kill her. But if you chose that in Inquisition, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't see her in the game. And she's actually one of the first faces that you actually see when you wake up in the game. She's there. So I didn't pick the version where I killed her. It might have been someone different, or it might have been just a placeholder, completely random person that either looked like her or was a different person, or whatever. But you got to pick your previous stories. And I really hope this happens for the next Elder Scrolls game, because there's nothing I want more than to have my stories validated in the story that I'm playing. Where, if you've ever read the previous stories on, like in Skyrim, like there's a book called The Hero of, I think it's called the Oblivion Crisis. When it refers to the Champion of Cyrodiil, it doesn't refer to them by anything but their titles. They're a genderless, raceless being. They're they, them, pretty much, of the Elder Scrolls, for fuck's sakes. They're never referred to by gender, by name, or by race, because again, the story is told from 1,000 by 1,000,000 different points of view from all different kinds of players that will pick all different kinds of races, all different kinds of genders, all different kinds of roles. You can't really canonize it because it breaks everyone's story. Sorry about the ad. I had muted it, and I actually do use this, and it's actually pretty bloody good. It's really lifelike. We'll skip through that though. But this could be an awesome opportunity when you start the game up, is to try and discuss what you did in those stories, who was your character. So for Oblivion, my character was an Imperial male. And again, I think that's the canon version of the Bethesda sort of, so they seem to go a male version of the natives. So, Dark Elven male for Morrowind, Imperial male for Cyrodiil or Oblivion, and a Skyrim Nord male for Skyrim. And I don't know, like I would like to see those characters talked about in stories. So when I read The Last Dragonborn, it will take note of the things that I wrote. So for my Dragonborn is a female Nord named Ragni. And I'd love to see the book reference a female Nord and even give her a name. You know, where I could type that and put, what was her name? Boom boom, Ragni. What was her, you know, what was her race? A Nord. Obviously it's going to ask me what gender it was beforehand, hopefully. So this kind of opens up the paths to where your story does not get retconned, but no one's stories get retconned. You know, you can go into infinite paths to where, you know, I don't know, man, like it just kind of really saves the whole retconning situation which happens in a lot of these games. Especially with like the latest Fallout TV series called, I forgot actually, where you see the Pridwin, which kind of pretty much says that Fallout 4 was won by the Dark Brotherhood, oh my god, won by the Brotherhood of Steel, which kind of really decanonizes everyone else's story. It just kind of like sinks your ship. It's like, oh man, that was my story, and it's now gone because they went and canonized it. So this could really uncanonize everyone's story, but also canonizing it personally to them. And I think that'd be the best option, to have a sort of thing where you pick your own path, but you're able to jump into different paths where those paths lost. So going back to the previous thing, you go into a different path, but you know, depending on how long it's been since this game and Oblivion, you might go into a path where the champion of Cyrodiil failed and died, and the sky is constantly on fire with red thunder because it's been destroyed by more. It's like hell on earth pretty much. There's Daedra walking around, there's Oblivion gates. There's no one alive left anymore. They're all dead. It's just a destroyed Tamriel on fire, basically with Daedra walking all over it. Or same thing in Morrowind. I think maybe the Tribunal went mad and destroyed everything. I don't exactly remember. I think maybe the vampire, he took all the power of the... maybe in this one he takes the power of all the gods and the heart of Lorkhan and becomes like a god himself and just ravages all of Tamriel. Comes like a vampire plague. I don't know. All different sorts of crap like that, where you get to go to different paths where your previous characters had failed. And even like the replayability of these many paths, which is Bethesda's main go-to of their games, you go into paths which are completely fucking bonkers and backwards. Like for example, this Elder Scrolls game is set in Skyrim. Obviously it won't be, but we're going to use this one as an example. And your Skyrim is naturally cold, with ice and that sort of stuff. We all know what Skyrim looks like. But you go into this different path and you get there and the landscape is completely fucked. Not destroyed, but you get there and instead of Skyrim being the cold north it is, it's the tropical north. You know, and in this version of the realm, it's elsewhere which is cold and frozen. You know, and maybe the Nords have the skin color of the Dark Elves or the Ultima, and it's just, maybe they don't. But you go to an entirely different path where everything's reversed. Like, Skyrim is hot and tropical. And you're like, what the fuck? Because there's a mod that actually does that for Skyrim called Tropical Skyrim, right? And it's a really weird sort of mod which turns Skyrim into elsewhere. So you get to go into different paths which are so weirdly different that it's normal to the people there. You're like, what the shit, dude? Isn't this place going to be covered in snow and ice? And they're like, what? How much scuba have you had, dude? This is Skyrim. Tropical sun, coconuts, sand, beautiful temperature, whatever, and all that sort of shit. And you're just like weirded out so bad. But to a point to where maybe you can save enough of these presets where you can visit your different worlds without losing anything. I don't know how they'd be able to handle that with your game not wanting to like melt itself, having to... I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking with why this power, or Athelia's power, is going to be the big bad in the next Elder Scrolls game. So what I simply I've been ranting for like, I don't know how long. It's going to be like I said, probably Amoris Mora has, has kept this power of Phileas safe for thousands of years, or 1,000 years since she disappeared. But one of his high priestesses or something like that, one of his worshippers have found it, broken it out, taken it, and wants to become their own Daedric prince, wants to break free of Mora's shackles or some shit like that. And now this entire madness has taken over them. They want to rewrite reality, they want to make the world where they're the god, they're this, they're that, and you've got to stop them. And eventually you kill them. But that power cannot be undone. And you are forced to take the power of Ophelia and become this Daedric prince. Now again, this is just verbal farts, verbal farts coming out of my mouth, but brain farts lighting up in my head. And this could mean absolute bullshit. This is most likely 100% bullshit. Just an idea. But I'll probably be dead by the time Elder Scrolls comes out. But in the case that it was true, I will lose my fucking mind. I'm already losing it now. But this is kind of what I believe. This is kind of why I believe that ZeniMax's Online has put a new Daedric Prince in there. Why Bethesda, I think, has allowed it. And why I think they want this so they can introduce their new Game Plus feature into the next Elder Scrolls game, while making it seem immersive, without uncanonizing everyone's story. Having their very own stories, like what BioWare did when you start up Inquisition. You're able to pick your stories and having many different paths, so we don't have to deal with our stories being redundant. And that's kind of why I believe Ophelia's power will play a major part in the Elder Scrolls 6. Now, again, I don't want to structure what I just said because I have no idea. But if you think there's some logic to that or anything like that, you disagree, let me know in the comments, because it's probably the better place to discuss this instead of it ravaging around in my head. If you disagree, like I said, leave in the comments and I'll get back to you, because I'll most likely get back to you. Best place for it. Anyway, I think I've got everything I need out of my head, hopefully. Oh my god. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Look after yourselves, and yeah, peace out.